la maraca pa' que suene. Échale semilla a la maraca pa' que suene. Échale, 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 échale semilla.
Hello, Internet. My name is John Kulas. I'm a 20-year professor of industrial and organizational psychology, 10-year user of R for statistical applications, and for the last 7 or 8 years, I've also been using R to author all kinds of things, slides and websites and manuscripts and reports, technical reports and feedback reports. And so every week I get together with some of my collaborators on some of these authoring projects, and we just hold what we're calling open office hours. We all kind of got to know each other in an academic setting, and so that's kind of a context that we're familiar with. And so we just hang out every Tuesday from roughly 7 to 8. We always start at 7 Eastern, and depending on kind of the complexity of the topic that we're exploring, we'll go a little longer, or sometimes we go a little shorter, I guess. Usually we stay the full hour. But we're just here as a resource if anyone else is interested in using R, or we could do Python as well, I suppose. But if you're interested in using your primary analytical platform as also a space to wrap your analyses and tell a full story within the same platform. And so every week what we do is we first recap what happened last week. And again, the intent of these is to just be an interactive resource if people are interested in using R for authoring. I don't know if you saw it there, but my cursor is more visible. Interesting. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about this, but so in the absence of people coming in and saying, "Hey, how do I do this?" or "I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think about that?" What we've been doing is we've been taking a look at features. So features of these different authoring products, whether it be a PDF file or an HTML file or a presentation deck or a book or a website. For all of these different types of outputs that we can create, we've been kind of playing with different features and different ways to tweak and kind of just play around with those a little bit. And so because of the way that we do that is completely unstructured, we just kind of flounder around and try to find stuff for the first time. So other people who maybe don't have a lot of experience with this can kind of see how that happens and maybe don't feel intimidated in terms of starting out, because everyone has the same issues with looking around and trying to find stuff. So we just kind of blindly explore, excuse the expression. And because of that, every week we'll also do a recap of what happened the previous week. So last week we were looking at this extension. So this isn't built into the Quarto platform. We've been primarily using Quarto as an authoring platform that we've been primarily sticking with. But if it doesn't come built in with Quarto, the product that Posit, the company, makes available for people, if it doesn't come, if it's not a feature that's built in, there's all kinds of people out there doing other stuff. And so the other stuff that they're doing, maybe we want to add it. And so we just took a look at one of those maybe you want to add it features last week, and it was using an extension. I forget the name of the extension. I don't think it's called Spotlight, but what it does is it creates a spotlight. So if you access the slides that are on the hyperlink this week and just press your mouse button, you'll actually see the spotlight. Now, what I was alluding to earlier was I cannot on my screen, and this is one of the things we talked about last week, or I guess I talked about it. It was just me last week. One of the things I talked about last week was losing the location of your cursor with this spotlight feature enabled. Now, I'm seeing on my preview here in my StreamYard studio that my cursor is hovering above the last week's title slide. I do not see that in my slide presentation. So if you do access the slides, take a look and see whether or not you lose your cursor. I'd be very interested to hear about that. So we'll recap that, and then we'll focus primarily tonight on this additional feature here, which is called Excalidraw. And Excalidraw is another one of these extensions that can be added to enhance the capabilities of these the slides of the type that we're looking at right now. So weekly, the way that we've been presenting what we're going to do and what we have done is we've been doing that through the construction of these Reveal.js slides. And they're fantastic. I love them. I'm never going back. But we'll actually see an enhancement that someone added and made it possible to go in there and take a look at and use. And it's called Excalidraw. And also, one of the things I want to do with this as well is I want to actually contrast that with the built-in Quarto capability to do something what I think is similar. One of the things that we're seeing, and you can even see with this spotlight feature, is that the more you add, it seems like the more potential there is for a conflict to arise in terms of the intended stripped down functioning of one of these products versus kind of the neat additional, hey, look at this, isn't this neat feature? So we'll contrast the built-in Quarto, already fully vetted chalkboard capabilities with this Excalidraw. So let's do a recap of what happened last week before we get into Excalidraw.
Well, it seems you can't keep a bad man down, for after all his troubles, Boris Badenov is back in business again, turning out 4 million counterfeit box tops.
Oh, boy. One more and we're through. Then we spread them around and wreck whole American economic system.
Meanwhile, just a short distance away, Rocky and Bullwinkle were trying to think of a way to find the box top bandit, unaware that they were so close to discovering his secret printing press.
What we need is a brilliant idea. Something tricky, clever, and subtle.
How about putting an ad in the paper?
Nah, Hey, that's it, Bullwinkle.
I knew I'd think of it.
Well, you sure did.
Yeah. What was it again?
One of these weeks, I'm probably just going to let it go. And I'll say, hey, Internet, this is John Clueless, 20-year professor, blah, 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 blah. And then once we get here, I'll just turn it on Rocky and Bullwinkle and never look back. I think that's how we'll end this run. That's probably, I spoiled it now. Sorry to spoil the ending, but when we're finally done with this, if we're ever finally done with this weekly session, which I'm kind of hoping we don't ever get done with it, I'd like to keep going in perpetuity. But if it does end, I think that's how I'll end it, is we'll just do it on a loop of Rocky and Bullwinkle. So last week, we were looking at this spotlight feature. It's an extension, and so last week we walked through how to add that extension. And with all of these extensions, with all of these capabilities that aren't built into the standard Quarto platform, it looks like the easiest way to enable them, use them, check them out is to be working within a project directory. So whatever it is that you're working on, whatever it is you're trying to create, whether it's just a paper or it's a presentation or it's a full website or a book, you're probably going to want to, if you want to explore these extensions, you're going to want to be working within a project folder. And so we went ahead and downloaded the extension within a temporary, just a stripped down project folder. And the specifications that we had for using it are here on line 5, 6, and actually 8 as well. I should have highlighted line 8. So, and again, the neatness with playing with some of these features that aren't baked into the standard default system. It's fun, but they do interfere, or they do have the potential to interfere with some of the baseline functionality that makes these products so cool to begin with. So one of the things I have, and the Spotlight extension does have some. We'll get to it when we get to the other options tab, but it does have some intended kind of light switch functions that should make it easier to navigate, and we didn't fully play around with those. But I'm already experiencing here, beyond just losing my cursor, the also dual purpose of the mouse click here is kind of getting me a little bit. So the specification is just at the same level of our theme specification. So format, hard return, indent, and then the product, which is the reveal slide deck, and then hard return, indent further from there. And then that's kind of the level of specification. Remember, in these YAML specifications, that front matter bit, those indentations are really important. That can often throw off a product. So the level of indentation we want here is the same as we have with any first level reveal option. And so theme is on there, just kind of show you that. And then it's just Spotlight. And the main kind of tweaking that the extension authors provide that we played with and we thought was maybe the one that we would probably pay closest attention to if we wanted to use this extension was the size of it. And so right now the size is set at 120. We didn't specify, or we didn't ever verify what that 120 relates to. It looks like it's probably pixels. So we're assuming that that's actually pixels. And then on the bottom there, when we use these extensions, almost universally the syntactic structure in the YAML is to have a line 7 specification, as we have here with the reveal plugin, or a filter specification. So it's either going to come in as a filter or as the reveal.js plugin. And on this one, it's coming in as that plugin. And so as long as we have that, then that enables what you're seeing here, or if you access the slides, what you can play around with as well. The other kind of, I would characterize it as a primary feature of this particular extension package, is you can change that spotlight from a spotlight into what looks like a laser pointer. And so the command for that, again, the indentation here is important. You'll see now that we're within the spotlight specification, we're coming over to do some further tweaking or some fine adjustments to it. And the command that they have is a use as pointer, and the use as pointer will change this spotlight to a laser type pointer. And then the other feature that we played with was pointer color. And so that it doesn't say badass, it's a hexadecimal code. So hexadecimal is 16 digits, so 0 through 9, and then A through F. Those are the characters that are used to within 6 different column locations identify a number of different colors. And so there's so many different hex colors that you can specify, and the fun one that we thought was just BADA 55. And because it looks like it says badass. That's kind of a dark yellow, kind of mustardy, almost cyan type color. And then again on line 8 and 9, you'll see the same specifications with a reveal.js plugin, and then Spotlight is the one that we want to focus on. So there are other options that we didn't spend a lot of time with. I say we, but last week it was just me. Hopefully we get some friends showing up tonight. I did put an invite out today. Like I mentioned the last couple of weeks that I hadn't been inviting anyone, so hopefully they don't feel slighted because of that. That was not because I don't want them. That was because it was the holidays and I didn't want to intrude. So here's the full listing of specifications that are possible within this Spotlight extension. And I've listed them all here, at least all the ones that are currently operative, on lines 6 through 16. So I've left in those previous commands that were on the Spotlight tab and the pointer tab. So there's some redundancy here. But the other features that you can go ahead and that you can go ahead and initiate are in between. And so the I spent a little bit of time last week not making fun of or not belittling or deriding, but I guess I just kind of pointed out that these commands themselves, these function names, are a little ridiculous. They're just large, right? They're long. They're descriptive, which is great, but there's a lot of chance for error in there. Just miss a capitalization, or capitalization here is important. So R and R Markdown and Quarto as well are case sensitive. So so these other commands we didn't play too much with. We did take a look at them very, very briefly, but we didn't explore them enough to fully vet them and see how they interact with each other and what sort of effect they actually have. So we just played mostly with the spotlight size, and then also that laser pointer, which I thought was kind of a neat option. And then like some of the other extensions that we've looked at, and as a matter of fact, as is true with Reveal.js itself, these are products and applications that have been developed outside of Quarto, and Quarto just kind of saw them and chose to envelop them and support them. So there's a whole community of individuals that are working on this outside of it. So the terminology that you're seeing here, it's endemic to or native to the Spotlight extension that was used for Reveal.js outside of Quarto. And so it makes perfect sense to keep those names the same once we're actually within Quarto. And if you're interested in checking those out, that's a hyperlink there, the Reveal.js plugin that you see in blue. There's a hyperlink, and you should be able to follow it. Now, one of the things that this Spotlight feature does, and I think there is a couple of combination of features here that we could probably tweak and maybe alter this a little bit. But one of the things that happens is your hyperlink is disabled because the Spotlight is active. So what you'd have to do is right click on that hyperlink, and then you have access to it. And that's the workaround that we would have if we were going to use this in the current way that it's specified. The other feature that we played a little bit with, I guess, but decided that the default value was probably the right value, was the timing of the responsiveness of the Spotlight itself. So the fade in and out is a millisecond estimate, and it just says when you click your mouse button, how quickly do we transition? Is it a slow transition or a quick one? And that 100 millisecond, so tenth of a second, seems like actually a pretty good number. So we played with it, but we decided just to leave it because that was kind of a good number. So today we're going to check out this Excalidraw idea. Let me mute myself for a second. I don't know what it is about these Tuesday at 7 o'clock sessions. I must be getting so old that I'm like ready for bed or something, but I don't know. My voice is getting like, how did I do this when I was younger? How did I communicate with people after 6 o'clock in the evening? For me, it's 6 o'clock because I'm in the Central Time Zone. So anyway, I think my voice is better now. So less Kermit Froggy. So today we're going to take a look at this Excalidraw extension. I haven't done anything, like typical, I haven't done anything with it yet. I looked into it just a little bit to see kind of what it looks like and get a sense of what it is, so I could, put a picture on the title page of the slide deck. But other than that, I haven't really looked into it. I'm going to use that workaround here because there is another hyperlink on the title of this. So where it says Excalidraw, I do have a link to the help page for it. So I'm going to right click and then open that link. It's pulling up Microsoft Edge again. I don't know. I gotta set my default browser. I think I'm not a huge Edge. I guess I don't care, so it's fine. So here's the extension. The always look if you're on these GitHub explanation pages or help pages in the about section. So in the upper right, I lost my spotlight. I could use my spotlight right now, but in the upper right of these GitHub repositories, what are called repos for shorthand, they're the kind of the habit, I guess, or the common practice is to put a hyperlink if you have material that might be extra helpful in understanding this. There's a link in the upper right hand about section of these repos. I've been doing that in my repos as well, so look for that. And then we can see if there's a little bit of an explanation. Sometimes it's a tutorial, sometimes it's just kind of an example of the capabilities of what this thing is. Sometimes apparently it just cycles and nothing happens. There we go. Now one thing, so this looks like it's a example slide deck with Excalidraw enabled. So the first thing I've noticed here is this palette in the bottom middle. And the 3 bars in the bottom left, those are standard Reveal.js bars. All of my shortcut keys should be active here, so I could do F for full screen, escape to get out of that. I can do, actually I don't know all the shortcut keys off the top of my head for Reveal.js slides because we spent so much time with the Jerringen slides, and that's where I'm used to the shortcuts. So F anyway is full screen. If we take a look at the tools here, we have Speaker View S, Overview O, and PDF Export for E. So those are the default. So I guess if we wanted Speaker View, I could take a look at that. Doesn't look like, one of the good things about Speaker View is that will give you a sense of whether they put any notes in there. The notes in the default configuration are going to appear in this lower right hand pane, so there's no notes. I'm not really missing anything, so we don't need to be looking in that Speaker View. But it looks like the palette is the main different thing here. So if I click that, yeesh, if I click that, I get a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, there's another laser pointer, although that laser pointer, whoa, there's a trippy trail on that. Look at that. All right. And again, we're taking a look at this without really spending a lot of time or any time on the documentation. I'm not sure why this came up with a default figure already in here. I guess that was just kind of a design choice. There's a library option here. I'm not sure if that's specific to Excalidraw. We have our 3 lines as well. We have a back button. I'm guessing back button. Back button does not get us out, so I'm going to try this escape. Escape doesn't get us out. So one of the things we could have looked at to begin with is how the heck do I get out of this? I guess if I press, yeah, it looks like the palette is an on and off button. It kind of looks like what you might see in a Microsoft product like PowerPoint or Word if we're doing images. Now, I wonder if I can, yeah, so this is still here. Right-clicking is going to be weird, I think, in here because you might get Microsoft Edge right-click options, or you might get Excalidraw options. It kind of looks like we're getting Excalidraw. Let's see if we can do a duplicate. There we go. Okay. So this looks like I might have some power to it. Ooh, I love this background, whether it's transparent or not. So that means we should be able to see through it, right? So if I look at this one and bring it over here, I can see through it. Man, that's become more and more of a thing to feature to pay attention to as I've been doing more and more of these slide decks. Those transparent figures are just fantastic, especially for If you want to play with the background of your slides, I like mine to be dark, but currently, if you look closely at those slides, they're not static black. There's a kind of a lighter gray in the middle, and then it radiates out from there and gets slower black. And if you have an image that does not have a transparent background, boy, that really it's really apparent against backgrounds like that, against kind of gradiated backgrounds. One thing, I look at this though. There's a bit of sloppiness to this. I mean, I like it. It looks like it's hand drawn, but we asked for a circle. I don't know if you can see it, but there's like a little Charlie Brown curly Q thing up here. See if you can see that. Okay, well this is interesting. One thing, I guess it's because I had the cursor going. I was going to say I can't really drag like I want to. Let's see how big this gets. But this isn't, what I'm trying to say is this isn't a perfect circle. It looks intentionally like this is intended to be something that looks like it's hand drawn. Even look at it's easier to see a little bit on this salmon one here. The width of the diameter here is inconsistent. So it does look like it's hand drawn, which is kind of neat. That's fairly unique, I think. So, okay. So that's Excalidraw, what it looks like. Let's take a look at the documentation here a little bit before we get into it. And then, again, the thing that I think I want to do is I'm going to want to contrast this with the built-in Quarto chalkboard capability, which is also neat. So we'll get a sense of whether, under what circumstances we may want to consider this versus the Quarto. See if I can blow this up a little bit. And blowing it up too much, it's nice It's nice visually to be able to see what the content is, but just getting a sense of where you are in terms of the map of the page is disorienting when you get too big. But, oh well, so be it. So it's a virtual whiteboard for sketching hand-drawn like diagram. There you go. Okay, so definitely intentional. And definitely noticeable. It's a stylistic feature that really I thought it came through pretty readily, pretty obviously, pretty quickly. So here we go. It's similar to the built-in chalkboard plugin in Quarto, and that's what we'll take a look at. It runs on your browser locally, so maybe there's a key difference there that someone that knows more about the programs that are used to display these might have some opinions about. I guess I don't know enough to have an opinion. Here we go with the extension subdirectory again under the project, so we're going to want to do this within a project. And then we already talked about this, using that plugins specification with the syntax. So this is following that format. So the more that we're exposed to these different extensions and see the same syntactic structure used to access the extensions, that's great. That's great that there's some standardization that's happening here, because this isn't Posit that is creating this. This is the community that's creating this, and they're kind of following roughly the same approach, and that's fantastic. I shouldn't dismiss Posit like that, because I know that they're aware of this and they keep an eye on this, and some of these features they do choose to wrap into existing or future versions of their platform. And even beyond that, they have tutorials that say how to develop an extension and how to integrate and how to use it. So they've certainly helped with some of the standardization, I'm sure. So if we just would have read, we would have seen this. All you have to do is click the artist palette emoji button to toggle. And so that's our other question that I had. I guess no one's here, but I'm going to keep saying we. I'm just going to assume that someone is out there. So by we, I mean the royal we. So The toggling was the way to kind of get in and out of it. That's fine. Excalidraw is running on your browser locally. Okay, we already saw that. So there's some redundancy here. Um, there is a shortcut key. It looks like backtick. That's a really unusual shortcut key. I've never seen that. Um, but it's just a choice, I guess, and it looks like you can change that to whatever you want it to be. So that's an option within the Excalidraw extension itself. Button true, that would seem to be important if the button is that palette, which I assume it is. I guess you could leave it hidden and have a shortcut key and only you know about it, and you could say ha 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 if someone else is trying to present. Yeah, you can disable it. You can have a different shortcut. There are other options you can specify. So there's a reference Excalidraw file. Okay. So I'm not sure what the reference file is going to do. I don't know if we're going to, we have what, 20 minutes left on that. We probably won't get to the reference file tonight, but we'll just play around with this a little bit. I'm not sure, off the top of my head, I don't know why we would want a reference file or really what that entails. Maybe it stores information or something. You can also specify a language code, Zen grid. Okay, this is beyond me, so I'm not sure what any of that stuff means. Looks like that's it. There's a little documentation here in terms of, looks like they're staying up to date on this, November 23rd. Not that long ago, so somebody's been working on this thing. I'm going to copy the extension installation because that's certainly something we're going to spend a little time on. Again, I'm going to get out of the live stream repository because it's just getting so overloaded. I do have one, let's see, I do have one that we used for Spotlight, a project, just locally saved project. So I think I'm going to navigate over to that, and then we'll see if we can just install. And you can see, because we used the Spotlight extension last week, that there already is an extensions _extensions folder within this project directory. Let me show you what you would do if you don't have an existing project to play around in. It's if you're in RStudio or even VS Code. They should be the same. Positron should be the same, I would imagine, but I'm using RStudio. So I'm going to go to new file. I'm going to go to new project. And then just choose either a new directory or an existing directory on your computer. Easiest thing to do is to do a new directory that's empty. And then what it will do is it'll give you this rproj file, and that should be it. You might have an rhistory file in there as well that helps kind of with some of the linkages that's done to some of the other RStudio's products that they have available. But we already have that set up, so I'm just going to use this directory. And in this terminal, you'll notice when you try to copy and paste into the terminal that your shortcut keys might be disabled, so you might have to use right-click on your mouse to paste in. So I'm just going to paste in that Excalidraw. And currently in that extensions folder, I haven't checked, but I'm assuming, if I remember where this is, I'm going to do a search for Spotlight on my computer here. And we'll see where it actually is. I have, I know I spoke about this before, but I have too many profiles right now on this on all my computers, really. I have a Google profile, I have a work profile, I have a couple of old work profiles. And so what that means is my working, if I'm not working within a project directory, which I am 95% of the time. Honestly, the only time I'm not is on these weekly sessions doing something like this. if I'm not in my kind of normal file structure, there's stuff that's out there that could be basically anywhere, which is a little annoying. I think it's in the users. I think it's been putting those in a documents folder. Well, what I wanted to show is I wanted to show whether or not there was anything in this extension folder. And so we can also just kind of do that by going through the files here in RStudio. And so you see the only folder that we have in there was from the Spotlight extension itself. And so that the Macanuel was the person who created this extension. And so it's all the way back buried within a folder too deep within that extensions folder. But we're in here right now, and we're going to go ahead and add this Excalidraw folder as well. It should recognize that we have an underscore extensions folder in this directory and just add to it. So right now we only have the Macanuel because this is sorry, guy that does a great job of providing products and help also on help pages for people who are using Quarto. I'm butchering your name. But currently it's only that person in there because this new extension is coming from a different author. So it's Parm Sam. So Parm Sam is at the beginning of before my slash here. We should get a Parm Sam folder as well. And so that's where it should put this extension, but we'll see. Do we trust the authors? It always asks that. I don't know. Why not? What reason do I have not to trust these authors? They're using GitHub. I like that. And then it always asks if you want to make these changes as well. The change is actually just an install. The change is you got nothing there right now. You're going to have something. And then documentation would be fantastic if we were smart. We never do. So then if we look in the extensions folder now in the lower right, you'll see that now I have two folders. And there's my Excalidraw. We don't, it's not necessary that we look at that. I just to let people know that it's actually there. Okay, so in terms of using it, hey Max, I see you're here. Thanks for saying hi. In terms of actually using it, let's go ahead and take a look at the Blackboard first. I don't know if it's Blackboard or Chalkboard, but let's take a look at that first, and then we'll go to Excalidraw. So I'm going to create a new Quarto presentation, and using the walkthrough, using the wizard, I'm going to stick with the default, which is the Reveal.js. Those are the ones that we've been focused on that are so flexible in terms of displaying dynamic content. So I'm going to go ahead and create that. There's not much to the YAML. It just says, what do you want to call it? And then, yes, this is a Reveal.js slide deck. And we'll go ahead and render that. I'm going to call it testing drawing because we'll try. I think we'll try. Sorry, I had a weird noise out there. I think we'll try the default, and then we'll also try this extension here. So I'm just gonna navigate through here in my preview pane. I'm not gonna blow this out yet, but you can see there's nothing additional that's showing up other than those standard 3 horizontal lines down here. And then it just has the default content that Quarto has chosen to include to demonstrate some of the features that can be included within these Reveal.js slides. Okay, I hope I make it tonight. So I had a hoarse voice, frog in my throat or something. Now there's these weird noises outside. And I think I started hiccuping too. So I don't know. Something that, you know what it is? It's the aliens. You got to get them in here. Okay. So let's take a look at the built-in at the Quarto built-in specification first. So I'm going to put we'll just do a Google search, Quarto. I don't know if it's called Blackboard or Chalkboard. I think it's a Blackboard. Chalkboard figures. So we're going to look for a revealed JS slide help page. And so there's several different kind of subcategories here. So we have themes, we have how to present them, we have basics. And then I think what I'm going to want to look at are these plugins. There we go. So Chalkboard. Well, that's not that helpful, is it? I was hoping it was just going to bring me to how to specify the chalkboard itself. And I think there is, I don't know. Okay, so I don't know how I got to a different help page here, but here's a different one with chalkboard more isolated. Yeah, so we don't need a plugin here because it has been integrated within Reveal. So Quarto has chosen to reveal it. There is a warning here. It's not compatible with embed resources. That's okay. We're not going to bed quite yet. So let's go ahead and see if we can initiate this. I'm going to minimize these so I can kind of look at them next to each other. Again, the indentation is important. So we'll do reveal JS, hard return, and tab. And tabs, depending on the editor that you're using, tabs might work, they might not work. I'm gonna just type the first few letters to see if it comes in as an autofill, and it did. So we'll just call chalkboard true, and then see what happens. That's a very easy specification that didn't require any sort of extension folder to be downloaded or installed. I'm going to re-render that document. There we go. So I am seeing different icons now. I should put Spotlight on as well. So maybe I'll do that. I got Spotlight. Why not? Spotlight is in this. Yeah, it's actually in here. So let's go ahead. I'm going to put the laser pointer on because I think that was kind of like it. So it's kind of like, hey, look here. Look up here. Look up here. So I'm going to look for my QMD specification for today's. You can see how crowded this doggone folder has gotten. Because I want to just pull, there we go. I just want to pull the bottom of this QMD specification so we can add it to our current slide. And we'll get a pointer. So then I can show people where we're focused. This should work because Spotlight is in the same, this extensions folder in the same project does have the Spotlight specification. So we'll see. Yeah, there we go. So this actually, I should disable this. Well, we'll just leave it for now because that's fine. If I disable the Spotlight, it would come in smaller, or if I played with the size, it would come in smaller. It's actually, you can tell it's a laser, not a Spotlight, because it's not transparent. But the parts that I was focused in on were down here at the bottom left, where we actually see, oh, doggone it, you know what? Now I'm going to lose my stupid cursor, so we're taking that off. Bad idea. Bad idea. So bottom left, we can actually see the difference there with using the chalkboard specification. I get these two different icons. The paintbrush, I believe, just kind of lets you draw. So if we had a picture of I don't know, a person. We could put a mustache on the person. You can have all kinds of different colors. Now, one of the things about these extensions in these reveal decks that's kind of neat is typically this information stays. So if I navigate off that page and then come back, there it is. Yeah. So if I navigate off and come back, that information is actually stored. It's there until the next session. So as long as you leave this session open, the the computer looking icon is an actual chalkboard. So the chalkboard looks like has different colored chalk as well. So this one we could whiteboard stuff together. You almost need, for all this stuff, for this kind of thing, I think you need a touchpad unless you're just, I don't know, really skilled using a mouse. I I I used to love drawing and painting, and I'm decent at it, but I can't do anything with a mouse. Um, the other thing that the chalkboard has is it has these up and down buttons, which are telling you that there's different pages essentially on the chalkboard. So I can put something in the space here. Nice Viking colors. Almost looks like the. I should say lose. They just lost. I shouldn't say the. But okay, so that's chalkboard. So let's play around now with not chalkboard. Let's actually play around with the Excalidraw extension, which we've downloaded and put into our extensions folder. I think I left that open. I should have left it open. Let's see, Excalidraw. Alicia says, "Is it shareable? Could others be invited to contribute?" Um, that's a good question. I think I'm guessing what's going to happen is um, you will be able to use the board, but I won't be able to see what you're doing to it. Um, but that is a really good question, Alicia. So I think a couple of weeks ago we played with what I referred to as zombie slides. So those were multiplex slides that kind of took control over what other people saw. And so um, it makes sense to me that in combination with multiplex, other people would be able to see what I'm actually doing. I don't think I'd be able to see what they're actually doing. But maybe we'll go ahead and publish one of these. We can play with that. Um, let's just, you know what? Let's do a quick, because that is a good question. Um, we'll do a quick. We'll see if we can download the. See if we can download as a PDF and see if anything comes out with that. So I'm just going to do a little drawing here, and then I'm going to use the E, and we'll print to PDF and see what that looks like. Didn't give me a preview. Okay, so it's not coming through. It's not coming through on the print to PDF. I know that's not exactly what you're talking about. Um, that's a good question. Okay, so I think I'll look into that, Alicia, and we'll see if there is a capability for that. Let's see. I think I lost again my Quarto Excalidraw. So, and what I'm looking for is just the YAML specification to see if they want filters or if they want the reveal plugins. And it looks like they want the reveal plugins. So we'll see if we can just throw that in. And it doesn't look like we need Excalidraw explicitly. if we use the reveal plugin, but we'll see. We'll see if that works. Whoops. Let's see what happens here. Didn't like that. So there was a default. This default specification, I've seen that before. It's not something that seems to be operative. So I don't. I'm more likely to believe that this dash specifications may be in the wrong spot, but we'll see if it works differently with default. It looks like it's going to. Okay. You know, Alicia, to your question about sharing, I wonder if that chalkboard versus Excalidraw with the kind of locally available, you're talking about having things locally available. I wonder if there is a difference there. Okay, so here's our Excalidraw palette, and again, we'd probably have to learn a lot more about Excalidraw, the plugin itself in order to use it, but just by intuition, it does look like it's mostly like a PowerPoint type specification. And again, I love that little kid, not quite perfect nature to it, or the Charlie Brownification, like we're saying. Um, Background, I don't know why it's giving so few options here. It looks like if it is transparent. Okay, so there are hex codes. We could just do badass again and get that kind of cyan-ish, kind of dirty yellow. It is movable. Sloppiness. It looks like we can even get more sloppy with it. Love it. I love that. How awesome is that? That the users of this decided to actually call it sloppy. And look at this. I'm going to try to zoom in on that. The nature of the nature of the sloppiness here. I think I've lost. Okay, here's one issue. When I zoom in too much, I lost my object feature, but maybe I just need to right click it or access it. There we go. So the sloppiness, now watch when I go from clean, which I guess is an option, to sloppy, the sloppiness changes. So the little squiggles and the little imperfections are in different spots and they have different manifestations. So on this one, for example, there's a gap here on the upper left. If I just cycle through a few different ones, you're going to see different imperfections. I love that. They do have an opacity option here. So if we were to put, for example, some text, you should be able to see it. Hey there, peeps. Boy, you know, I could see myself playing with this a little bit. That is pretty neat. And then, so if we change the opacity to, ah, okay. So like in PowerPoint, Word, Microsoft products, there's that kind of move to front, move to back feature. It looks like there's a layers here. Oh, there we go. So we can okay. So we can actually have. I was gonna say, almost looks like there's some built-in logic in terms of background, foreground, and it's because the opacity wasn't it. The maximum opacity wasn't fully opaque. You could still see through it. But again, we're just this is a first time playing with this, so there's probably more sophisticated ways to play with this. Let's put in some more shapes. I don't know why not. I look at that. I like that it reads in the. It's taking the same sloppiness and color that we already had and just by default putting it in. I like that. I would imagine that we could do flowcharts and things like that using this. It's got some internal logic to it that is nicer than PowerPoint, I would say. So PowerPoint, grab an object and then you kind of fool around, you play with it and you're like, oh, how do I tilt it? And I want it a little bit bigger and but now I want the orientation a little bit different. What this is doing is it's just, when I choose an arrow, it's pointing it where the cursor is going, which I actually like. I don't, maybe that's an option in PowerPoint, I'm just not aware of it. Same thing with the straight lines. And we can do sloppiness again on those straight lines. So if we wanted to clean everything up, we could actually do that with that sloppiness feature. But I think it's my favorite feature. Maybe just because I like cartoons and I like kind of the hand-drawn look. Yuck! Look how nice that looks. It's too nice. It's too perfect. Ooh, we do have a little bit of something going on here, though. So that arrow does have a little, it's got a little imperfection to it, or it's just pixelated is what it is. So if we did a finer one, I'm imagining it'll go away. Not quite. Maybe a thicker one. You know what? This is really intuitive. I love the sloppiness. Man, this makes it look like we did do that hand drawing, like what we have on the blackboard. But it's obviously a lot more nicely presented. Looks like we can do images as well. I don't know. Hopefully I don't have any like images that I shouldn't share here. Let me see. There's Snoopy. Working on some Snoopy stuff. I wonder if we can send Snoopy to the back here. There we go. Yeah, you can. And there's some opacity. So, it's coming through. It's not reading all of the elements within this because the opacity is, it's seeing the image itself. It's not seeing the contents of the image, but that's to be expected. I am pretty impressed, actually. There is a laser pointer in here. Oh, whoa. Was that trippy? It goes away. It's a laser pointer that runs and then goes away. That's pretty cool. Web embed. So web embed and frame. Alicia, I wondered your point, if there's a way to actually share this. I think that might be next week's topic. We'll see if we can actually play with this to the point where we could share it. Boy, there might be a hosting issue there as well. Anyway, I'll look into it. And then this mermaid to Excalidraw, here's mermaid syntax. We've seen this before because we played with this a few weeks ago. I actually cut up that session or those sessions. And so there's a tutorial on this channel if you're interested in mermaid charts. But one of the things we saw was the early specification. So it says it's a flowchart, and then TD means top down. So I should be able to go left to right as well, or right to left, or whatever we want to do and flip that. The containers themselves, there's different types of containers. So currently Christmas is in a box. If I wanted to change that, there's all kinds of specifications. I don't know if this does anything, but parentheses within a box. Looks like it's still a box. I know I think double parentheses are is that a circle? Like double line circle? Yeah, circle. So we could put that in. Man, I just like the way it looks. Maybe because it looks like an old 1960s Snoopy drawing. Now I should be able to, you know, work with these as well, and that's very easy. And it just looks fantastic. So um, can change the stroke as well as the fill within those objects. That sloppiness, I just so impressed with that. I'd be curious to read a little more about it. And everything should be super sloppy by default. Font size, it looks like there is a little playing you can do with the fonts. See how many different fonts they have. It's not showing how many different fonts they have loaded in here. But I'm sure there's a way to go in there and add fonts if we wanted to. This is fantastic. So if you saw what just happened there, so the Christmas was splitting, so there's a break there, so it wasn't fully rendering within the same line. So if you were in PowerPoint, and again, there's probably ways to use PowerPoint that are more sophisticated. Yeah, team collaboration. I was thinking that too, Alicia. Multiple people could write on it. Yeah, I think we're thinking the same thing. So I'm gonna look into that and see if that's a capability. 'Cause it's probably redundant, right, with what's currently available. I think you can do that in Zoom and elsewhere. But yeah, it'd be nice to know if we could do that. But the responsiveness of this is just really I'm really impressed with it. So instead of having to um, have a text box and an object and an arrow separately, at least with this mermaid chart that we have, these linked objects are sticking with each other, right? And so that definitely is unique. So that's super cool. So I think we might spend another week on this because the way that we've been doing these weekly sessions is, hey, here's something that looks neat. Let's all go into it fresh, and we'll kind of explore it together. That I'm sure only appeals to a certain type of audience because most people just want to get cut to the chase, right? And say, well, let me just find a tutorial on how to use this. But I think this is neat enough where I think I might want to do a second week on it where instead of just coming in completely fresh, I think I might want to play around with this a little bit offline, and then we can come back and explore it collectively and see what other kinds of things we can do, including, to Alicia's point, see if maybe there's a way to host this such that such that it's a shared whiteboard, right? Wow, okay, that's really cool. And then good, it's still there. Library, it looks like we can export this. If I want to lock it, unlock it. Again, that's something I guess I'll have to look into offline between this week and next. But I think this does have enough neatness and uniqueness to it that I think next week we'll do a session number 2 on this and check out Excalidraw. I don't know why, I just love stylistically what this is looking like. So, okay, cool. I think that's it for tonight. Me and my UFO buddies are gonna get out of here. Sorry, cows. Okay, good night, everybody. Thanks for stopping by.